Is Blackhawks GM Kyle Davidson being too patient? What does Frank Nazar credit for his good season with the Blackhawks? Are you ready for Anton Frondell? Because it feels like that might be the pick. All that and more coming up next on CHGO Blackhawks. Happy Thursday. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. I'm Jay Zawoski. That's Mario Tirabassi. Sarah is over there. We have no chat today because there are major outages
worldwide
throughout the internet
everywhere.
world.
The internet broke.
The internet truly did break.
Someone tripped over the cord.
Was there another Kim Kardashian photo that I was not aware of? I did see the Sabrina Carpenter Rolling Stone magazine. Maybe that's what it was.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
I don't know.
I'm
Maybe
sure
one of
that's
the
what it
satellites
is.
fell out of the sky.
That
I'm
could
sure
be.
it's something super innocent and
Yes.
not troubling at all.
Not at all. Not at all. Well, we're going to do a show for you anyway.
Yeah.
So thanks for being here. Thanks for checking us out on YouTube. Whether we're live or not, hit that like button for us and be sure to be subscribed to our YouTube page when we are live, eventually, hopefully Friday. You'll be alerted. And if you're listening on the podcast, you don't have to worry about that. We just post them when we're done. So follow, subscribe, all those great things, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Kind of a lot to get to today. Kind of a potpourri, kind of a show, like the kind of thing you do on June 12th.
Oh, sure.
In the middle of the offseason for the Blackhawks. So we want to start with, more correctly, Pierre LeBrun in The Athletic. This was yesterday. This was Wednesday. Kind of doing his what I'm hearing nationally thing. And basically what Pierre is saying is what everyone around the NHL in terms of insiders are saying. Here's the little blurb on the Blackhawks via The Athletic. The Chicago Blackhawks are exploring options to add to their forward group. They feel like they're in a good spot on the back end, meaning defensemen, with their young guys and are set in goal. They want to start turning the team over to the younger players overall. So while they would like to add a player or two up front this offseason, they also don't want to hinder their younger players' path to quality playing time. So while the Hawks are looking to add up front, I don't think they're going to chase something unreasonable or do anything that doesn't make sense in terms of the path they're on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I am of two minds of this. And when Kyle Davidson sold the rebuild from his first day on the job, he was very upfront and very transparent about, we're not looking for shortcuts. We have to do this the right way. We have to trust in our process here. And if we skew from the process, the whole thing's out the window. I do think, though, we've reached a point in the rebuild where you've got, and Kyle Davidson apparently agrees, according to Pierre LeBrun, enough defensemen that are ready to make the jump. Forwards, while you don't have that elite forward to complement Bedard just yet, aside from maybe Nazar, you're probably going to get someone that will be in that conversation in 2 weeks at the draft.
Right.
It's time to start adding significant pieces to this roster. And if you run into the problem where Oliver Moore or Sasha Boisvert or AJ Spellici or whoever you think might be the next great thing is so great that they're stuck, that's not going to be the case.
Right.
There will be room for everyone here. And then when they're all due contracts, then you have to work things out. But don't be afraid of being good or competitive sooner than you have planned. If you've drafted so well that you think there's no open spots for any free agents or trades, then you're going to have some good pieces to trade down the road if you have to.
Sure. Yeah, it'd be one thing going into next season if we were talking about the sample size with players like Ryan Green or Oliver Moore, like the guys that
Aiden Thompson,
the guys that you would expect to be, playing professionally, playing, trying to get NHL minutes. If the sample size for them was like Nazar had this past season, and obviously it's not because those guys all just came out of college,
right?
But if you had that belief that like, oh yeah, they're in the NHL next year, then that'd be one thing to say like, okay, I'd be all right with that, because then you're going completely young. You have guys that have at least proven for a half a season at the NHL level that they can hang and that they can produce, and that's where their development path is going. I think that would be one thing, but with so much unknown about those guys, you want to put them in a position where they're still going to have to compete with NHL caliber guys that you can look at and say, yeah, they'd have to leapfrog them or they'd have to be pushed by them. And if you don't bring back Ryan Donato, you're down one more of those types of forwards in that group. You lost Pat Maroon. You probably aren't bringing back Philip Kurashev. So there are spots open, obviously, but I think what this team can benefit from is those young guys having a competitive training camp, having a competitive, lead into the season and earning their opportunities in the NHL. And it's not to say, oh, just have 12 veteran forwards that all the young guys are going to have to leapfrog. No, I think there's still value to, as they said, like get Pierre LeBrun's talking in there, getting another forward or two forwards from the either a trade or a free agent acquisition where it betters the team. And then you have those young guys play around a better team, and that can help their development path rather than just saying, go out there and play in the NHL with, all young guys. I just think adding someone this summer to be like a top 6 guy benefits the team in the immediacy and also benefits the young guys in their development.
So the question is this Pierre LeBrun reporting, and maybe he doesn't know, right? He's probably being told things very carefully, as we know Kyle Davidson.
Right.
He's very guarded in his comments. Is Pierre LeBrun genuinely saying they're looking to add 2 young forwards? Or,
if that's the case.
Or is this Kyle Davidson kind of setting the table for what could be viewed as a disappointing offseason where he can say, well, there were some names out there, but they didn't really make sense for our process, and we really like our kids, and we want to give them a chance, so we didn't really do anything. Like that's my concern. And I'll say, I am a Kyle Davidson fan. I like what he's done so far. Overall, I think he's been very successful at what he's tried to do. Mm-hmm. He has been aggressive. He has made big moves when people didn't expect him to make them, and has pretty much won most of the trades he's made. So I think it's more likely that they do try to. I think it's more likely that they're saying it's not going to be Mitch Marner, but someone in that B tier or someone similar to that via trade is going to be the way they go. I just hope that Davidson is not just like cushioning everybody for a big nothing burger on July 1st.
Right, yeah. And the idea of handing over the team to the young guys, yeah, of course. I think everyone's on board with that.
100%.
I think everyone sees what is building with this organization. It just feels like going out and doing nothing. Here's what I feel with this. If you go through the offseason and you do nothing, like you're not adding someone who's like legitimate top 6 forward that's going to, benefit Bedard and Nazar and those guys immediately, then yeah, you don't want to go out and get, I don't feel like you want to go out and get another Teuvo Bertuzzi type who's just going to clog up that middle of your lineup, so to say, for the young guys to kind of like be in the middle there. And does getting a vet fourth line forward really do anything for you? No, but it insulates the depth of your lineup, I guess. But then you're sitting there with another Pat Maroon, Craig Smith type situation. And I think if you're going out there and you're saying we're not going to add those kinds of free agents, or they're not making that kind of trade to add a young player to the mix that benefits them now and pushes them forward through their timeline, then I think if that's going to be the offseason you're going to have, you're kind of painting yourself into a corner where then your lineup has to be what we saw towards the end of last season, where it's just like out of your 18 skaters, 10 of them are under 23 years old. Right. And I think that can be exciting. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
It would be fun.
We've been talking
about Sharks vibes.
Yeah, we've been talking about all these young guys for a long time, but I think you're also wading into those waters of, speaking of Sharks, where you might be setting up some of these guys to kind of be getting their lumps too often in the NHL.
I mean, look, we had Alex Vlasic on the show yesterday. If you missed it, he talked about, man, I don't remember the last time I played in a game that meaningful with
being with
Team USA in the World Championships. And Frank Nazar was on the lead with CHSN and said the same thing. And there's something I actually want to play here, Sarah, if we got it ready. Frank Nazar, this is courtesy of CHSN. He was on their show, The Lead, yesterday, talking about what he credits to his great start in the NHL.
I think it's been huge that, honestly, that I started in Rockford. A lot of guys view it as something that could be bad, but honestly, I had a blast. I thought it was great, and went down there and just built so much confidence and being able to play, almost in every position and every scenario, 5-on-4, 4-on-5, 6-on-5, all around the board, and play so many minutes and play against younger guys that are very skilled that you're going to play against in the future. And I think it helped a ton and helped grow my confidence in the game and just honestly understanding of pro hockey and how to treat my body. And I'm sure you guys know it, but it's a different story and a different game than coming from college to pro, and just being able to do that every day to day. And you got to take care of yourself, and that's huge. And, being able to start that in Rockford and build that throughout the rest of the year helped a ton. And honestly, I'm super thankful.
So there you go. I mean, that's Frank Nazar saying that his time in Rockford was almost directly responsible for his success. And it's not to say that if Frank Nazar started the year in Chicago last year, things necessarily would have been worse for him. Mm-hmm. But it's a fact. It's a factor. And Alex Vlasic, same drill. Went down, spent some time, spent a whole season after making his NHL debut. Kevin Korchinski's on the same path. So when you look at the forward group here, Bertuzzi is in for sure. Teravainen, Foligno, Dickinson, Mikheyev are for sures. Mm-hmm. Bedard and Nazar are for sures. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Probably Joe Veleno, but Joe Veleno was on a buyout candidate list from Frank Saravalli, which I thought was crazy.
He's fine for your fourth line.
Yeah. Lucas Reichel, Landon Slaggert, Colton Dock.
Yeah.
So,
and like I said, if you're not bringing back Donato,
that's another spot.
That's a spot open. But it's also you lose something there.
But all these names I'm mentioning, Reichel, Veleno, Slaggert, Doc, these are bottom six guys.
Yeah.
And sure, you've got a lot of those in the system, right? That's probably what Aiden Thompson is. That's what Ryan Green is. Mm-hmm. We don't know what Oliver Moore is yet, but he's probably middle six at best. He's not a top line guy. You don't want to start having losing become normal to these guys. And them getting frustrated with, because again, if you go with a full young roster next year, you're going to be a top 3 pick again. And maybe that excites some people because, Gavin McKenna, maybe they got a shot at Gavin McKenna, maybe.
Right.
But aren't we tired of this? Isn't Connor Bedard tired of this? Isn't Frank Nazar going to be tired of this? Vlasic?
Yeah, I think they'll definitely start wearing down on the losing side of things. I just think because, there is a lot of excitement to having the young guys come up and get opportunities for sure. I just don't think they don't have anybody that's in the group right now that is that person that's going to help them push them forward. Tavo's not that guy. Bertuzzi's not that guy. So I just think, the opportunity, either be a free agent or for a trade acquisition, there are players that could help do that. Like a Nikolai Ehlers, a Brock Besser could help do that. talking about trades like Jason Robertson, JJ Paterka, like those names are out there. Those guys could do that. So I just think that there's if Davidson is going out and kind of starting to soft cushion the blow of like, hey, we didn't do anything this offseason, quote unquote, didn't do anything. When it comes to that, then I think it's a missed opportunity to help this young group push forward.
Well, I think they're going to do something. I'm pretty confident they are. I just think that if I'm a betting man, I think this is just Kyle Davidson's way of spreading the word that we are not going after Mitch Marner.
Sure, which is fine.
As long as something else or two.
Yeah.
If
you're not going after Marner, but you have plans B, C, D, whatever, to try and add something, something that's going to help you push you forward for next season, that's fine. But if it's just, throwing your hands up and not doing anything at all, takes the wind out of you.
Definitely. All right. Well, it's a seller's market. So next up on CHGO Blackhawks, we're going to talk about where help might be coming from, especially with one specific team that seems to be ready to sell. All that and more coming up next. Hit that like button for us here on CHGO Blackhawks. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. Whether you're a veteran, whether you're a noob. Do kids still say that, Sarah? Noob?
I think so.
No? They've got great brands. They've got a huge selection. My two favorite brands, Good News and Mindy's. They've got FloraCal. They've got Cresco. Great stuff. They're Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in Wrigleyville, River North, and the burbs, Champaign, South Beloit, and more. Head over to sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter the promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois MedCard holders. And if you're an existing customer, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Labs brand item.
And we've all been there where your parlay is one leg away and then a relief pitcher gives up a walk-off bomb in the 9th and you're heartbroken. Sound familiar? Well, with the HOF app, that is built to fix it. Started by 2 lifelong sports fans who happen to also be Ivy League grads, HOF makes parlay research faster, smarter, and data-driven. Whether it's Major League Baseball, the NBA, NFL, NHL, or college sports, the app gives you beautiful charts, clean visuals, and real insight. They believe anything the books know, you should know too. Because parlays don't have to be dumb bets. With HOF, they aren't. With a 4.9 rating in the App Store and over 6,000 5-stars reviews, it's safe to say HOF has already helped a lot of people bet smarter. And our CHGO listeners get a 7-day free trial and 50% off of their first month by downloading the HOF app or visiting hofbets.com and using the promo code CHGO at checkout. It's a limited time only. Again, the code is CHGO. Download the HOF app on iOS and Android or visit hofbets.com.
All right. Well, there's not a lot of teams selling right now.
Mm-hmm.
As you look at the NHL standings, as we look at where the Hawks might be able to find some help and where teams are right now, you've either got contenders or young teams on a rise like the Hawks.
Right.
It's hard to find the sellers. The only team that seems to be a sure bet seller this summer is the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Well, they're selling the team.
They're literally selling. But in terms of selling players.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this roster and guys they might sell.
Sidney Crosby
and Evgeny Malkin are the two that give me any interest at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they're moving either of those guys, they're going to do them the courtesy of sending them to a contender.
Right.
And they're going to get a massive haul back for it. Full of draft capital.
For Crosby,
full of
yeah.
prospects.
Malkin, I don't think he's going to get the King's ransom that he would have a couple of years ago when he was still in his peak and everything. He's still a very, very good, very serviceable player.
38 years old.
Absolutely. But yeah, he's at the end of the timeline.
50 points in 68 games last year.
Yeah. So I think, if you're getting Evgeny Malkin now, it's like, okay, a great option for a second or third line center, especially on a contender. If your second or third line center is Evgeny Malkin, you're going to be okay. Crosby, yeah, there's no way he's. I still find it hard to believe that he won't stay in Pittsburgh.
I think he's a Penguin for life.
Yeah, it seems like that seems like the route to go. But if you're trading for him, you're still getting high level number one center in the NHL, Sidney Crosby. So whatever the going rate would be for a number one center, even at his age and the wear and tear on his tires, like it's definitely you're still paying a lot for it.
All right, if you're looking to buy cheap, potentially, Brian Rust is 33, 5.125 for the next 3 years. Ricard Raquel, 32 years old, 3 years left at $5 million. Kevin Hayes, 33.
He can finally play for the Blackhawks.
A year left at 3.5. Other than that, like there's just not.
And even that's not great.
Like, do you want 2 years of Erik Karlsson at $10 million?
No, I don't. Not really.
So you got to get creative here. Again, like I'm just going through. Anaheim's on the rise. Boston is kind of a wild card.
Well, and Anaheim just got Chris Kreider. Which that's not a future move, but in the immediacy that helps them.
It does. It makes them. Yes, this is the sort of thing we're talking about with the Hawks.
Right.
Find a guy that will make you better without a super long-term commitment. Boston, I don't know if they're buying or selling or what they're doing. No one seems to know.
Yeah.
Buffalo, a mystery. Calgary's one
Buffalo
of those middle
selling young but wanting to go young.
Calgary might sell. That's a team that could sell.
Yeah.
They're not going to win with their. I mean, I would really. Well, see, the only thing is like Kadri is interesting. He's 34, but he's got 4 years left.
Yeah.
If you had 2 years left, I'm all in.
Kadri's a guy that is still going to want to go to a contender. And I would imagine if he's leaving Calgary. And again, he's kind of like that Malkin in that frame of like on a good team, if he's your second or third center, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like he does anything. I don't think he really does anything for a Blackhawks, from their scope of things. Yeah, would he be the second line center? For sure. But you said 4 years. He's 34.
4 years at $7 million.
Not going to win anything here. It doesn't seem like the kind of move he would want to do.
And he does have a no movement clause.
Yeah. So
otherwise, Blake Coleman is 33. Like Joel Farabee that is traded for, they're not going to be moving him.
No.
There's just not a lot of. What about Nashville? And like Nashville's going to be weird and not trade with the Hawks.
Well, and Nashville's,
but they're locked in on Stamkos. They're locked in on Forsberg. They're locked in on Marchessault.
Well, Marchessault's name has been out there for potentially trading and
He's
stuff.
got 4 years left at 5.5. He's age 34.
Yeah, it's the pickings for some of these teams that are looking to sell off pieces. They're not selling off pieces that really make a lot of sense for the Hawks outside of the names that have come up of like JJ Peterka and Jason Robertson and Bowen Byram, like these guys that are out there that are young. Those guys fit the timeline. They improve the team.
Sure, those would be ideal.
Peterka and Byram, expiring deals kind of situations. Yeah, those would be ideal, but those aren't. If they're interesting to the Hawks, means they're interesting to 28 other teams out there.
Exactly, and like you think about Dallas, if they're trading Jason Robertson, it's not a team that's not trying to win the cup anymore.
Right.
So they're going to want immediate help back. And I don't know, do they want Connor Murphy? Probably not. Like, who on the Hawks immediately helps Dallas? Jason Dickinson? So you give like a first-round pick, Jason Dickinson, and a ton more to get.
Yeah.
You probably have to give up. You might have to give up number 3 to get Dickinson.
Right.
Or to get Robertson, I mean.
Yeah, they might say like, yeah, Florida's first is nice, but we don't want the 30th pick. We want your pick, which might be in the top 5. I think you'd have a lot of conversations like that centered around some of those players.
Would you trade the 3rd pick for Jason Robertson?
Oh, this 3rd pick. I thought you were talking about next year's pick.
No, this one.
No, this year's pick.
I mean, I don't know if that would be enough.
If it was straight up this 3rd pick for Jason Robertson, yeah. would do that.
I think so too. But then how does that help Dallas?
It doesn't.
Except for giving them cap space to.
Yeah, it gives them
fill out
cap. It
the
gives them
roster.
cap space to fix their their money issues. But you lose Jason Robertson, and you don't have anybody that's going to replace him. And the Hawks don't have anybody close to replacing him.
And Robertson makes $7.5 million RFA after next season. So if you were to trade them immediate help, again, the names we're talking about, Dickinson or Murphy, both those guys Dickinson makes 4.25, Murphy makes 4.4. So it's not giving them the cap relief they need to make the deal.
No.
But I guess if you look around the league, though, Dickinson and Murphy are affordable, actual help.
Yeah, depth help. Yeah.
Right. So, but Dallas isn't going to be finding anybody cheaper than them at their level of effectiveness.
Yeah, to be more impactful.
So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. You just go through these teams and you're trying to find what makes sense. And it's hard to, there's just as few free agents as there are. It feels like there's even fewer trade targets. Unless some teams are just like, you know what, we want to change the chemistry.
Right.
We just want to mix things up a little bit.
Well, yeah, and with the Rangers, they traded Kreider. You got Keandre Miller and Will Cooley, who are
give me both of those
expiring,
guys.
Need new contracts. Alexis Lafreniere's name again circling in, trade speculations and stuff. So I don't really know what the Rangers' direction is with, they get rid of Kreider, they get rid of cap hit, they want to go after free agents. They still see themselves as trying to contend, but that's a team that you could try and still poach off of, maybe. Offer sheets or something that you could get crazy with. But, even the offer sheet route, I'd much rather trade for somebody because that allows you to protect that 2026 first-round pick that the Blackhawks have that is basically your Gavin McKenna lottery ticket.
Right. I
would much rather protect that through a trade than, give it up for an offer sheet.
I agree.
If you go after, if Peterka's out there, you go for an offer sheet. Anything you offer him is going to cost that first-round pick.
And it's still, even if they get JJ Peterka, they're still going to be a bottom 10 team. They're still going to they will have a lottery ticket
this season. Right, yeah.
Lafreniere is interesting. 23 years old. This will be his 6th NHL season. Last year had 45 points. The year before 57, then 39, 31, and 21.
Mm-hmm.
Has played a lot. Is healthy, a healthy player. He is signed long term though. Like you have to know that you think he's going to be what you think he's going to be. He's got 7 years left at 7.45.
But he's what, 23?
23. Not astronomical.
That's
an intriguing name to me.
That's a guy that as the salary cap goes up, that $7 million and change is not as crazy as it might look even when he signed it.
Even if, okay, so let's say he is a 50-point guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's likely he gets better at some point in his career.
Yeah, I think he was one of those players that needed some time to kind of figure things out. A couple hundred NHL games to figure things out.
But if he's peaked out right now, it's somewhere between 45 and 55 points.
Mm-hmm.
7.5 isn't awful for a guy with that kind of output. That's that young.
Right. At that age.
Is healthy, dependable.
At that age to be a second line guy, let's say, and put up 50 points. Yeah. I'd say $7 million is where you're starting to get to that range of that type of player.
It's cost certainty for a long time.
Yeah.
With a potentially massive payoff.
Yeah, there's nothing to say that he's topped out at anything.
No, I mean, if he can get to 70 points.
No. He'll need help around him, obviously.
Connor Bedard.
Bedard and Nazar. And
I don't know who his most common line mates were.
It was, I feel like he found a groove playing with Hedl for a while with the Rangers. I can't remember exactly. It was it was him, Hedl, and somebody else. It was another young guy that he played with that seemed like the most consistent group that he was playing with. But it was I think it was a third line role with the Rangers at the time. So it seems like he's a guy that, if you put him center or wing, He was most likely playing. I think he was most often playing on the wing, but you could put him up there with Bedard and see what happens. You could put him with Nazar, see what happens. Those are two guys that I think would complement that style of player decently well.
All right, we got to hit the break zone. Back in 2 minutes here on CHGO Blackhawks. Do us a favor, hit that like button for us, please. Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee has everything you need in one spot. We're talking about thousands of the latest slots and table games. I'm a roulette guy myself. Ready to refuel? You've got a ton of amazing restaurants and bars to choose from. And whether you're feeling fancy or just want a quick bite, they've got you covered. You don't even have to leave the property. Stay in style at their luxury hotel, just steps away from what many call the Midwest's best sports book. Heading to a ball game this summer? Start your day right at Potawatomi. Hit the sports book, then head out to the game. It's all right there. Super convenient. Milwaukee's got a full summer lineup, concerts, festivals, sports, you name it. Potawatomi is the perfect home base for all of it. Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee, which is Algonquin for the good land.
It is.
As we've learned. Your win is waiting. Go check it out.
And just like your favorite team needs a home field advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage. And Empire Today can help you get that advantage. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated professionals who focus on flooring every single day of their life. We've all been to those big box stores and you're wandering those endless aisles. Somehow you're the one hauling all the materials home. Your DIY YouTube video doesn't work. So you have to call the installer and coordinate everything yourself. Not with Empire Today. They believe that they should make flooring easy for you, so they bring the showroom directly to you. You can pick the right flooring, the right colors, the right materials for your space, see how it looks with your furniture, your wallpaper, whatever it is, and it matches your needs. You can get precise measurements taken and all your questions answered right there, so there's no surprises. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are better at home. CHGO listeners can receive a $350 discount when using the promo code CHGO. That's right, $350 off using the code CHGO. Restrictions do apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details.
All right, now it is time for Taking the Temp, presented by our friends at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. They are your trusted local experts. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. Mario, since we have no chat today, I'm taking your temp on Anton Frondell as the likely pick at number 3 for your Chicago Blackhawks.
It's warm, and it's getting warmer. I think the more we see from the public sphere of draft analysts and mock drafts, and Scott Powers puts out his, what I'm hearing every couple of days, and it just seems like, the Blackhawks are pretty much on the page of Michael Misa isn't going to be an option. If he is, he's the guy, it seems. And I think that that's the right way to go. But without him being the option, it seems like that group of Anton Frondell and Caleb Desnoyers and James Higgins, Porter Martone, like that seems like the group that it's like one of those 4 will be the pick. And Frondell's name seems to be coming up most often in those types of situations and conversations. So I think it's fine. I think any one of those 4 guys is a good pick. There's good qualities. Obviously, there's no perfect player, but there's really good qualities. All things that those guys bring to the table, the Blackhawks need. They need some sort of, a guy down the middle with some size. Frondell, a guy that's that you can put on, but Connor Bedard's wing, play a power forward game, be able to play make and keep up with him and see the game the way he sees it. Porter Martone. You need a playmaking guy, center or wing, that can be just like Frank Nazar and Connor Bedard and mix in well with him. James Higgins. You need a guy that's a two-way guy, a winner, a second-line center that can, has good habits and has a good head on his shoulder. Caleb Desnoyers. You have a great pick at any one of those 4. But with Frondell being the one that starts to kind of, inch ahead of the rest of them, I'm fine with it.
Elite Prospects Draft Guide on Anton Frondell. Frondell's separating skill is his ability to get open away from the puck, combined with high-end shooting talent. He gets off the wall and beats defensemen for rebounds and deflections, pushing the pace away from the puck, but also slowing down or dropping to the high slot when it's the right course of action. Very smart player here. And if you read Scott Powers' an interview with Marcus Kruger, who is Frondell's coach at Djurgården.
Teammate,
yes. That's what I meant. Yes, that's right.
Player coach, probably.
Yeah, he's like Reggie Dunlop, just less violent. Smart guy. Seems like a high floor kind of a pick. Like, you're going to get a good player in Frondell. It's just a matter of how good.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Any of the guys we've basically been talking about throughout this process, Misa's the dream. Martone, Frondell, Desnoyers, Higgins, fine. I'm fine with any of them. And I know there's a certain portion of Hawks fans that have sort of dug in and they've got their guy, and anything short of their guy is a huge mistake. But in this draft, where it's such a kind of a crapshoot, but after Schaefer, but it seems like recently Misa's kind of risen to the top.
I think people have come to the consensus he's the best forward in the group.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not by a huge margin. So there is a chance he is there at 3. There's a chance.
Yeah, it's not to say that it's lockstep Schaefer, Misa 1 and 2. Who knows what the Sharks or the Islanders have in mind, but it seems more likely that that's the case. But it's not 100% slam dunk like we've seen in previous drafts where it was we knew Celebrini was number 1, and then was it Levshinov, was it Demidov? Where were the Hawks going to go? We knew Bedard was going to be number 1. Well, okay. Fantilli, Carlson, where are they going to go? It just doesn't seem like that is as set in stone going into the draft in 2 weeks. So it's not wide open, but it's definitely open to interpretation.
And I do think, I don't remember, I think it was the night of the draft lottery, one of the panelists mentioned that you can't underestimate the fact that James Higgins is an Islanders fan. And I know you shouldn't draft that way.
No.
But when you're the Islanders, you do have to consider this is not a market that guys want to come to. So if you draft a guy who's a fan, maybe you get a longer commitment. Maybe he's not got a foot out the door from the second he arrives. And you draft Higgins, who was pretty much the number 1 pick, all year. Not quite to the level that Shane Wright was with that massive fall off.
Oh, yeah.
But similar, where for most of the regular season, Higgins was the guy people were talking about. And then Misa surpassed him here over the last month or two.
Yeah, and Schaefer jumped up. And yeah, I don't think Higgins really did anything to hurt his stock. I just think he had a really solid season. It's just Matthew Schaefer, played exceptionally well. Michael Misa played exceptionally well. And it kind of put them ahead of where he was at. So, the fact that he's 5'10 and a half, 185 pounds or whatever is such a detriment at 18 years old that, teams are going to pass over him. I think that's on their own accord. But I still feel like whether he is in that mix, with the Hawks being at 3, if it is Higgins, like, you're getting a really talented player. You're getting a guy that is going to be, in your top 6, dare I say top line opportunity. And he's going to have that skill set that's going to be impactful. And Frondell has that too. Like, he's a guy that already has played against men in Sweden in the professional league. He's going to very, very, very likely go back and play next season again with Djurgården. Yeah, the D is kind of like halfway silent. Djurgården. And they went through the second league, and now they're promoted to the top league in the SHL. So that's going to be a step up in competition. He's going to be, in his 18, 19-year-old season, he's going to play for Team Sweden at the World Juniors again. And be able to, go that route, and then probably take the next step and come over to North America in his second year post draft and be able to be with the organization. Very likely. Like, that seems like the case and the path that he would go from. And being young and playing in the professional leagues in Europe, like, that can get you kind of ahead of that curve than if you played in college or played through the Canadian junior leagues. Like there's ways for those guys to kind of feel the pace and the strength necessary for the game. And Frondell's a guy that, he's not the biggest power forward, but I think he's a guy that can play a power forward style. Even if it's not like it's not the big thing that jumps out about him. Like his skill and his shot are his biggest things, but he's still a solid, 18-year-old. Like he's a guy that can handle the physicality.
One thing that Scott Powers mentioned in his breakdown, he talked to Corey Pronman, he talked to Scott Wheeler, but also Byron Bader, who we had on last week, has the star projections. And Frondell has the highest possibility of any player in the 2025 draft class to become a star player. The only players that he is rated behind in the last 10 drafts are Celebrini, Demidov, Bedard, Michkov, Hughes, and Matthews. Jack Hughes and Austin Matthews.
That's impressive.
Now, to be fair, all those guys I mentioned had a 99% star probability percentage.
Yeah, locks.
Frondell is 89%. But again,
89%.
that is the highest.
It's pretty high
compared to, aside from those 10.
Right.
Or those names I listed.
Yeah. And you're going off of the age, the competition level, and he put up, what was it, 25 points this season, most since William Nylander in the same league put up 27, 10 years ago. So, going by kind of being in the same category as him in that fact, your draft year, you're playing in a professional league, like that's pretty impressive. So I think there's maybe some across the public, I think there's maybe some lack of like spark to Frondell's game. And I think the biggest thing that's a knock against him that we've been hearing through, this draft process is that the inconsistencies in his game. Some games he'd be quiet. When he was playing at the U18s, didn't light up the U18s that a lot of people, hoped to see from him. But I feel like if you take one tournament or isolated games away from a player, yeah, you can always find deficiencies. You can always find things to bag on. But I think collectively, the whole of his game is still exciting, and is a guy that I think, like you said, like a high floor kind of player. You kind of know, like even if he's not, even if he doesn't reach his ceiling, he's still second line NHLer. Like I think that seems like a good bet to make.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're not going to screw it up necessarily. Draft year comps, according to Bader's model, Dylan Guenther, Nikita Kucherov, Zach Benson, Joe Thornton, and Chris Gratton.
Not bad.
Near Hawk Chris Gratton. Another fax error.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think I'd be happy with Frondell. I still feel personally my big board behind Michael Misa would have Martone at the top.
I agree.
But I'd have Frondell behind him. I'd go Martone, Frondell, Hagens, Desnoyers. But again, I've said it before, it's basically 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D.
Yeah, anything in that group is going to be fine with me.
Yeah.
I'm right with it. So, I don't know. We got 2 weeks to figure it out, and I'm just very ready for it to be here so we can start planning and talking about next season, because as we were talking about earlier in the show, like there's so many ways that the 2025-26 season can shake out, from bottom of the barrel finish, maybe more exciting, maybe more enjoyable, but potentially, like if the Sharks get Schaefer or Misa and they're NHL ready, they're might be better than the Hawks.
Yeah.
If the Hawks don't do anything, Anaheim's going to be better.
Yeah,
Utah's going to be better.
Anaheim, Utah, they're at that point where they're wanting to push. And Hawks are probably a step behind that, but there's ways that you can make that push to get where Anaheim and Utah was this year, where they were in that 70, 80 point range in the standings and playing games in beyond the trade deadline where you're like, this actually means something. going back to, Vlasic and Nazar talking about playing in meaningful games. Everyone wants to do that. Everyone wants to get into the NHL and, be in the playoffs and have a chance at the Stanley Cup. Like, that's what this young group, I want them to experience and be able to have quickly, potentially as soon as this upcoming season is, be in situations where you have that pressure because the games mean something.
So the return, by the way, the Anaheim forgot for Chris Kreider. They gave up forward Carey Terrence and a 2025 third-round pick for Kreider and a 2025 fourth-round pick. I believe that is a 15-pick jump for those two teams. Kreider,
and they're not. New York's not retaining anything,
right? Kreider, age 34, $6.5 million for the next 2 years. Then he's a UFA. Did I look at that right? Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And a big drop off for him last year. Like, this is a guy who, boy, that was 4 seasons ago, scored 52 goals, 36, 39, and then last year, 22 goals and 8 assists in 68 games. 8 assists? Was he Connor Murphy? Like, that's a huge drop off. Now, who knows if he was banged up? The Rangers had a very strange year last year.
Yeah, they were
from
down.
Being one of the NHL's best teams to all of a sudden
everybody was down for them last year.
So I don't know if you want to take too much away from last season with Kreider, but he's at that age where things start to fall off.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a name that wasn't on the radar. It wasn't a name that a lot of people were talking about in terms of who might be available. Now you talk about the Rangers, you talk about teams that might be looking to unload a little bit.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I think that's where, as we try to figure out where Kyle Davidson's head's at and where these moves might be coming from, if something happens, it could be, actually knowing Kyle Davidson, it will be something completely out of the blue that no one had any sort of pre-thought on at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good likelihood of that. I mean, he runs the organization pretty quietly. Took a very long time for us to get any read on what they could be doing with coaching. And then it was like, oh, Jeff Blashill definitely interviewed. And then by the end of the next week, Jeff Blashill was the coach.
Yeah.
So there could be something to that you're talking about all these different players, free agents, trades, all that stuff. And it might just be something like, boom, and there's your trade that literally no one had any speculation on. That could be the case. But I just think, I also, with the Kreider move specifically, like I would venture a guess that Kyle Davidson and Pat Verbeek run organizations differently, evaluate talent differently a little bit.
Yes, I think so.
And I think with Kreider going there, it's that move that, like, yeah, he's not going to get you over the hump, but he definitely insulates and helps improve the bottom line of your team, especially with a mostly young group in Anaheim. So, Kreider also feels like a Joel Quenneville type of guy.
Yes.
And
because he's not young.
He's the he's the guy that, is going to be, leading that group now. So it makes a lot of sense for the Ducks. Rangers, they wanted some cap flexibility to, be able to sign some of these guys that they need to sign. We talked about K'Andre Miller and Will Cooley again. Those are guys that need new deals, and they want to also, be players in free agency. So you move Kreider's money out, and you hope that you're using it to bring somebody in that's going to be more effective than he had been over the last few seasons.
Have I talked myself into Alexis Lafreniere today?
You might have.
I think I did.
I mean, do we, after 3 years of trade for him, are we finally actually, yes,
I don't know.
trade for him?
Just the gamble, like, at least you've seen at some point, like, the production was there, right? Like,
yeah, right. He finally turned to that, like, corner of, okay, you can't play like a rookie anymore.
Right. And with more opportunity. So you look at his ice time. First 3 years, points-wise, 21, 31, 39. Average ice time, 13:53, 13:59, 15:13. Then the last 2, he jumps from 50 to 57 points and 45 points. 17-16, 17 minutes. So with more ice time came more production.
Yeah.
I looked it up. His most common line mates last year were Trocheck and Panarin. Based on natural stat trick.
Oh,
I said
okay.
he was on time on ice with them was the most.
Okay.
So
Well, that's
pretty good.
Well, yeah, that's significant then. That's
But wait, they can't be right.
Up in the lineup.
Panarin's the left wing.
Trocheck's, I think, plays as center.
Yeah. So were they playing Lafreniere and right?
I think he moved to the wing. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, again, I think that's significant. That is being was that their second line last year for the Rangers? I don't think that was their top. I feel like Kreider not Kreider, Zibanejad, I think was their top center last year, top line guy.
At the end of the year, well, yeah. So at the end of the year, this would be a daily face-off. The second line was JT Miller, Brennan Othman on left wing, and Alexis Lafreniere on right wing.
Okay.
So, I mean, those are good players, too, especially Miller. Miller's a good player, too.
Yeah, of course.
So, but again, if you put somebody with some scoring ability with Connor Bedard, and I think Lafreniere checks that box, the production will be there. It's got to be someone else that can take up space for Connor Bedard that other teams have to worry about. It's not Ryan Donato. All respect to Ryan Donato. I think teams were happy to say, if he's the guy that beats us, we'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other sellers, potentially. Vancouver. They're letting Besser walk.
Seems that way.
They traded JT Miller.
Mm-hmm.
They're already talking about trading Quinn Hughes. Well, we just might not be able to do it.
So crazy.
We might just have to call the Devils and see if they got anything for us.
That's crazy.
Is Elias Pettersson someone you want to take a swing at?
I don't think he's leaving Vancouver. I think that's steam. I think the steam of that has gone down. He makes the team better, fits the timeline, but
26.
I just do not think that is a move the organization makes.
$11.6 million for the next 7 years.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for a guy kind of coming out of a not good situation
where effort and commitment has been questioned.
Yeah, I'd say no at this point.
I still just dream about Connor Garland on this team.
Yeah, he'd be good.
He's got 1 year left at 4.95 UFA after 2026-27. He's 29. Kills the Hawks. Just kills the Hawks.
Does, yeah.
So you could trade for him, sign him as of July 1st, lock him up long term. I would like that. But again, no one knows where the Canucks are going.
Right.
It's just really hard to find.
It's hard to pinpoint
how it's going to go.
Yeah. Like last offseason, the move that was just like, yep, set in stone, take it to the bank, was Tavo in free agency coming to Chicago.
And it's like people knew before the season ended.
Yeah, it was like it made so much perfect sense that it would go that route. But yeah, this offseason it doesn't even seem like there's that many like, oh, makes perfect sense. This guy is going to be here with the Blackhawks, except I think you might have been on it first. Gustav Nyquist. I
think I just saw him. He signed in Europe.
Really?
I think so. Yes, I swear I saw that. I have him on my alerts.
Well, if that's the case, you sure it wasn't Thomas Tatar?
Oh shit, it might have been.
They are the same person.
I swear I saw him sign in Europe.
Interesting. Well, until we're proven wrong, spent a lot of time with Jeff Blashill. Leaving. Let's see. He's leaving. Would be leaving a Nashville situation where, I haven't seen anything about Nyquist signing, and
maybe I dreamed it.
Maybe you have.
I don't know.
He seems like a guy that I think would be fine. Seems like a higher end upside still left in him than Craig Smith, Pat Maroon. He insulates your third line, I'd say, with this group. Veteran guy. And I just think from the hiring of Blashill, it just that's the one that I'm like, yeah, of course that makes sense. And it would probably be like a 1 or 2 year deal at money that's not consequential over the time of that deal. And I don't know. It doesn't move the needle much at all.
Not at all.
But it definitely feels more and more likely like, oh, yeah, I could see that happening.
Yikes.
We'll see.
All right, I'm just going through UFAs. Matt Duchene.
No, I don't think so. And it's got to be the interest too.
Yeah,
they gotta be interested in coming here, and I don't see that.
Pius Suter.
It's round 2. No, that doesn't move you forward.
It is slim pickings here, bud.
Jonathan Toews.
They're saying for Nyquist 2 years, 3.239. That's a projection.
Yeah,
on cap wages.
Sure, fine.
That can't be the move.
That can't be your flag. That can't be your flag on the ground for agency move.
No, at that point, just play Ryan Green.
Yeah,
or play Aiden Thompson and let it shake out.
Right.
But I'm just so scared it's going to be a nothing burger, not only for 82 games of next year, but for our shows on July 1st. Yeah. People are going to melt the frick down if something significant doesn't happen. And maybe it happens at the draft. Maybe it's a trade. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Like last year, Utah traded for Sergachev. Mm-hmm. Like out of the blue.
Yeah.
No one saw it coming. That
was a surprise.
Huge surprise. Helped them out big time. Maybe it's something like that. It's just hard to, with such slim pickings in free agency and a seller's market on the trade front, mm-hmm. I think the options are limited, which could be why. I mean, how long has Kyle Davidson been saying, well, there just might not be things available. We can't force things to happen. We can't make guys available. And he's right. But these are the sort of things when you begin a rebuild that you really can't predict. Mm-hmm. You can't predict where teams are going to be. Other teams are going to be 3-4 years down the road. Like no one expected the Rangers to have a crash out season this year. And they did. So things changed there. Boston.
Right.
No one predicted Boston would ever trade Brad Marchand, let alone at the trade deadline.
Right. It's being in a position like that.
So it's hard to predict, but now he's in a spot where it's probably time to add some help, and his options are incredibly limited. So he's got to get creative. And I hope he does, because that's what it's going to take to get this team a little bit. If they're next year's Utah or next year's Anaheim, they're going to need more players.
Yeah, you're going to need more help. Can't rely on all the young guys to shoulder the load. Like you got to have a little bit of extra help to get you to that next level.
And again, you can always adjust. If somehow Ryan Green is the next Wayne Gretzky, or Nick Lardis scores 70 goals in the preseason, you're like, well, damn.
Yeah, right.
This guy's unstoppable. We need a spot. You figure it out. Or guess what? You're really good. Because you've also got Brock Besser and Alexis Lafreniere to complement Nazar and Bedard and Nick Lardis and all the, you know what I mean? Like that's.
I love how
it's okay to be good.
We've just gone all in on Lafreniere in 60 minutes of this
I'm just trying to be realistic. I'm trying to will things into existence.
Yeah.
Something that will excite the fan base.
Yeah.
Because it desperately needs it.
I think so. Yep. I agree.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time. Hopefully live tomorrow. Hopefully the internet fixes itself.
I think it's kind of coming back on.
Is it creeping back?
It's been creeping back a bit. Right. But
did they unplug it and blow in the cartridge and plug it back in?
Exactly. No, we'll see.
Well, either way, we'll be here. So make sure you're a diehard. If you're not yet, allchgo.com is the place to do it. You can scan that QR code on your screen right now. You get a free shirt when you sign up or a free hat. 20% off all of our merch, all of our events, all of our golf outings, all that stuff. 20% off the merch store. I think I said that already.
Yeah.
But access to all of our great written content, access to our members-only Discord. Lots of great perks in there. So become a diehard today. All right. I'm going to go rest my voice. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 2 right here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.